All right. So yeah, basically the point of this task was just to have a small introduction to actual JavaScript. So it's not really necessary to fully test this. Good. Naringa, could you mute your microphone, please?
Sure.
Thanks. All right, so basically, yeah, the main goal of this task was just to test your JavaScript skills, to do a little bigger task than actual code wars and similar. So you shouldn't really be strict with this actual task. So what I mean by that is there's basically some examples in the evaluation criteria. If you open it up, for example, the first point, basic operations with positive integers. So an example, just 2 plus 2. So you shouldn't really do stuff like what's the dot, like this, like you shouldn't try to break it. Like this, of course, breaks, but you should do simple things like 55 plus 3 or something. So yeah, before we actually do that, we need to open up the what's this called? Developer tools. Sorry. Open up the sources tab, and there's this index main.js. Main.js is basically the JavaScript file that's used. And what we got to do is Control F to find use cases of eval, which we cannot find here, so that's fine. If we do find eval, the evaluation criteria said that we should just give 1 point and just skip every other thing. Just 1 point because it's not a failed task, but it's not a complete task because it was pretty clear that eval cannot be used. So yeah, if you find eval, just give 1 point and that is it. So moving on, since we didn't find eval, we can continue on. So basic operations, as I mentioned before, simple 8 plus 7 equals 15, it's all good. 8 times 5 equals 40, all good. And subtraction, 45. So basically, yeah, this guy already has plus 15 points. So moving on, division. Simple, again, 3 divided by 2, we get 1.5, so that's a float. We can also try non-floats. 4 divided by 2 is 2, so that's good. So that's again plus 5 points. That is basically, don't need to try really hard things. I mean, it's a calculator. It doesn't really care about the complexity of the operations, but just to save your own time, try simple operations. All right. So now the second thing, if the result has more than 10 digits, it must be rounded down to show only the first 10 digits in total at all times. This was pretty confusing for people because not only the results must have not more than 10 digits, but the actual input. So if we do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and this should be the limit. So if I push something else, this shouldn't happen because it's already 11 digits and that's incorrect. So we can actually skip this part. But if the input was, for example, limited, we can try a bigger operation like what's this? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So times, I don't know, 100. And this is again above the limits is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So that's incorrect. And we don't give points for this evaluation criteria. So moving on, the chaining operations. Oh, and by the way, the previous evaluation criteria with the 10 digits also has separate evaluation criteria for integers, which we just covered, and for floats. So for floats, again, this is 2 digits because, well, this person decided to cut off the 0, which is not incorrect, but in reality, this is already 2 digits. The period is not counted. It's just a symbol, so it's not really a digit. So the same thing here. We just like have enough of these, add another one, and it shouldn't exceed the 10-digit limit. You can either cut it off, like basically just delete everything after the 10 digits, or round it down to 10 digits after the dot, which is the more correct way, I guess. But there's no penalty if the person just cuts it off. It's no problem. All right, so moving on. Yeah, and don't forget that if integers are limited, then you should still give plus 5 points because this is divided into two sections for integers and for floats. All right, so now the chaining operator. What I mean by chaining is basically if I do 1 plus 2, I should be able to click plus and I should see 3 here. I click plus and I just keep adding stuff. And in this case, it doesn't seem to work. You need to click, yeah, you need to click equal sign, which is not correct. This is not chaining. So again, no points here. Was that clear, by the way? If it's not, I can just try to explain it a bit better. Well, okay, I'll just watch it after the meeting. Result clear button. So yeah, we have the delete and we have the clear. So that's plus 10 points. Error message for invalid operations. Okay, so the example is 10 divided by 0. Division by 0 is not allowed. And this is incorrect because infinity is the default value that JavaScript provides, which is basically theoretically correct because there is no such number. But this should show error. And since it's not handled, I'm pretty sure that, for example, I don't see the negation sign. So I guess I'll just do something like this. We have -9. We try to get the square root, and it shows none, not a number, but it should also show error. So if one of these is not correct, then that means it's not handled. Every answer that is not a number should have been an error, and that's pretty simple to handle, in my opinion, because I think there's a number static method that checks if a number is actually a number. So not a number would return false. Infinity, I think, would return false. It's some method, I don't really remember, but it checks if the number is real. It's like a float or integer. So yeah. Okay, so now additional math operations. The square root, I guess we can try that. So that works. So we can give 10 points here. Exponentation. Okay, so example is 15 powered by 3. Yeah, it works. What about others? Yeah, don't forget to try out the other indexes like 5, so it's 32. Okay, so that works. That's plus 10 points. And basically the last number, oh no, not the last, actions with negative numbers. So since this calculator doesn't have the negation symbol, like the plus minus sign, I mean, you can work around it by doing 0 minus some number and get the minus number, but that is not completed because I should be able to click a button and turn this into a positive number. I should click that button again, it returns negative. So that's how it was supposed to work, like in the real calculator, to be honest. So yeah, this is no 10 points. So next, the last is actions with decimals. So yeah, I hope some of you read why this happens. It's not a JavaScript thing. It's actually floating point arithmetics. It's basically a problem of, I think, all of the programming languages. It's just the way that binary calculation works. So a simple example, if we try to add 1 and 2, we get this. I mean, this could be correct, but let's actually see. Let's copy the value, paste it here. We see that it has the 4. It's not rounded. So the answer should have been 0.3. And 0.3004 is incorrect. Again, we should also check things like 0.4 minus 0.1. Get the same, yeah, wrong answer. And there's also division. Yeah, but I will need minus times 0.2. See what this is. Yeah, so this is incorrect again because this should be just 0.02. And yeah, that's basically it. So no points for this, of course. And yeah, it's pretty much all you have to do here. That's why you don't really have many pairs, because it's pretty simple to check this. It was harder to create, but pretty easy to check. You don't need, your goal is not to break the calculator, as I mentioned before. It's just to test the basic functionality. Basically, if you have covered every edge case, good for you. I mean, it's I think it's good for you anyway. You could have done this really simply. You could have done this more advanced with more functions. The more you did, the more effort, the more benefit you have. So don't worry about that. All right, so time for questions. Does anyone have any more questions regarding this? Because this is basically over. I only had one example I want to show you. So yeah, in case someone wants to drop a link, I can cover that as well. But yeah. Okay, so it seems like no questions, right? Last chance. All right, no questions. Nice. Then I'll stop the recording here.